Hi everyone, I'm going to show you how to color the hair of a character digitally. I'm using the app Procreate and my iPad Pro. Some of the concepts should transfer to coloring with markers and pencils, except for the layers part. That's just a perk of coloring digitally. So let's get started. Okay, so this is a basics video. We're not going to cover any blending or anything like that, but it will give you a good start, and your character should have hair that has depth and highlights and lowlights, and hopefully you'll be happy with the results. First, the easiest thing is to drop in color and give yourself this base of color. You can't do that unless your black lines are all closed. So I'm going to give her an uneven hairline where the lines were not closed so that I can drop in color, and then I'll go back and fix that weird black hairline right there that I just added later. I'm gonna pick a brown and just gonna do basic brown to start, and there's a circle in the top right corner of Procreate, and I'm taking my stylus and just pulling it over to where I want to drop the color, and then taking my stylus off the iPad. So it's super simple, it's super fast, and it's an easy way to give yourself some base color to start with. She has some underneath hair showing, so I want that to be a deeper shade of brown, so I'm just changing it so that it's a little darker, and I'm dropping that new color of brown into those small sections of hair underneath. I used a studio pen to close the black lines on her hairline, and that's a brush that comes with Procreate when you download it. I'm going to use like a jagged brush to erase that line. So I'm kind of going in and creating this like uneven look, which is more realistic to an actual hairline than just these like straight hard lines. So that's what I'm doing there. It's just an eraser, and it's kind of like a jagged brush. Okay, so there is a white box in the top right corner. When you touch it, it turns blue, and they're your layers. So I'm going to add a layer, and you simply add a layer by clicking the addition sign. Okay, so now I've added another layer, and that's good, so I can color over my base layer. Now, in my favorite brushes, I've downloaded most of these from other artists that sell their brush presets in different places. So some of those don't come with Procreate, but that's okay because it's super easy to find brushes you love. The brush I'm going to use is a brush that fades in and out really nicely so that it looks a little bit more realistic for hair. And I'm basically going to just follow the black lines that are already under there and create strands of hair with a little bit deeper color brown than what I laid down in the base color. Okay, so I'm going to choose a deeper brown now, and I took the size of the brush down just like a smidge, so it's a little bit thinner, it's not as thick, and I'm working from her hair tie towards her hairline and adding some shadows there, and then working from her hairline back towards her hair tie, and just basically creating like strands and depth in her hair. I want to add highlights. So I want to put a lighter color in her hair, but I want to put it underneath the dark so I don't lose those lines. So I add a layer by hitting the addition sign. So that's my layer 3, and then I drag it under layer 2. Now when I color on layer 3, it's going to be under those darker brown lines, and I won't lose them and have to redo them again. Okay, finally I'm adding the darkest brown, and that's just anywhere where I think there would be the deepest shadows at the hair tie where all the hair comes together. And again, I'll go down to her hairline and add a few there. Okay, so I basically finished the part of her hair that's pulled back away from her forehead, and I like the way it looks, and now I'm gonna do the longer sections of hair. Okay, so I finished her left side and I'm going to do the right side for you guys so that you can see how I do the whole section of hair. It's first always just laying that medium color over the black lines with a brush that fades in and out at the ends. And a quick way to select color, where you can see that circle on the screen, is to hold your finger over a color you've already used that's on your actual artwork. Hold it there and it will automatically select that color and put it into the circle in your top right corner where your color palette is. So it's just a quick way of selecting color you've already used, just using your finger rather than always going back up, hitting the circle, and looking for it in your palette. So that's just a simple trick. So I'm still using the brush that fades in and out nicely, but I've taken the sides of it down so that it's much thinner, and I'm placing this darker brown in ways that will create some like gathered sections of hair. So these places where hair comes together in these like V shapes, I'm always pulling the color from like the vertex of the V out towards the wide part of the V. So that's just the way I prefer to add shadows. But I think it looks kind of realistic that way. And so I'm always looking for these places where hair is gathered. In just a second, you're going to see a circle come up on the iPad right there. So that's me holding my finger over a color I've already used that I want to use again. And it selects it by holding your finger on the iPad and puts it in the circle in your top right corner. So that's just an easy trick to select color easily. Now that I feel happy with the right side, I want to merge all those layers. So you hold your stylus on the layer you want to merge, and you just wait for this menu to pop up on the left, and you go down to merge down. It's the second from the bottom, and you click it. And so it just merges with the layer below it. So now all those layers that I've created on the right side are just one, and you can see how much of a difference it's made in the depth and the coloring of her hair. I think it looks good now. So I'm just gonna clean up some edges at the bottom and make some little adjustments here and there, and then just a couple little things and we're done. You can see where I'm circling, there are strands of hair laying on top of the pulled back section, and I don't like that. I want them to be coming from underneath it. To fix that, I choose the right side layer and I pull it all the way under the pulled back section of layers. So at first it's on top, and I'm gonna drag it underneath all those other layers of pulled back hair, and now it looks clean and neat and the hair's coming from where it should be. Okay, so I'm just going to clean up her elastic band here. Sometimes I take my own hair and wrap it around my elastic band so you can't see it, and that's basically the look I'm going for here. I'm going to create another layer, but I'm going to go down to my layer 2 and create a new layer by hitting the addition sign in the right hand corner and put that layer right above my base layer. And now I'm going to draw really dark lines over the dark lines that are in her hair that's kind of like underneath and in the back shadowy part. So I'm okay with it going on her skin and just being super sloppy right now, because the simple way to fix that is just to go back with an eraser and erase those lines that have gone into places where you don't want them. Because those lines are actually laying on top of her skin color layer. It's going to erase the lines, but it's not going to erase any skin color. Okay, so now I'm going to add one last layer, and I'm using the same brush I've used the whole time for the strands of hair, and I'm just taking the sides of it down really thin, and I'm going to add these flyaways so it's kind of like the hair that's not laying as nicely as the rest of the hair, but it's more realistic. It's personal preference. If you make a mistake, it's okay, because there's arrows at the bottom left corner and you can just undo what you don't like, and it's basically just playing with it, and that's kind of like the fun end part. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. This is just the beginning of digital hair coloring. There's so much more to it, but this is a good starter. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments on Patreon, or message me on Instagram at Krista Lee Smith. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.